Alright, here are the answers to your homework. Check them with your own. 1 was negative pi over 3. 2 was pi. 3 was pi over 6. 4 was negative pi over 4. 5 was 5 pi over 6. And 6 was negative pi over 4. Questions on those 6?
How do you throw those in the calculator?
Did we have to switch it to like radians or degrees or something?
No, it's still random. It's not as hard.
So those ones, those angles in the fourth quadrant no longer exist.
Wait, so unless it says to put it in radians, you always put it in degrees still?
Yes. Okay. So your calculator, you need to do those 3 in your calculator in degrees. Now, normally we just talk about certain angles on the unit circle, but there are 360 degrees in a circle, so it makes sense that there are other exact values that we don't talk about. So when we say does not exist, it's not really true. It does exist. We just don't know what it is.
But then I thought they wanted it because rather than just
Okay.
the angle.
For 10, your inside should have been negative root 3 over 2. Your final answer was negative pi over 3. You didn't need to change this to 5 pi over 6, but it may have helped you see it better. Your inside was 0. The final answer was pi over 2. For 12, the inside was negative 1. The final answer was negative pi over 4. And then 13, your inside was, oh, this month. Thank you.
That was zero.
Your inside for 13 was negative root 3 over 2, and the final was negative pi over 3. Yes, Gary. Yeah, so negative 3 pi, you would just go around, that'd be negative pi, that'd be negative 2 pi, that would be negative pi, negative 3 pi. So you just keep going around. Other questions on those 4?
And you can check it if you make sure that you're doing it right. Like you just put,
Alright, if you are taking just the graphing section, I need you to sit over here. If you're not, then you don't need to move. If you are taking, are you? Is anyone? Okay, and Arrow, you want to take it today? Or, okay, and anyone else? 1, 2, 3. I just need you 3 at a table together.
If we do something today, can we do the graphic?
I can, yeah. You already checked. I will come back. Okay, so this next section of notes is taking applications of what we just did, taking applications of our inverses. Majority of this is going to look familiar because we did this already, but now we're just going to focus more on the inverses. If you don't have your calculator, you need it.
All going to take 2 seconds.
Alright, so right now, this first piece is asking us to find the measure of theta. So that is us using our sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Remembering those. For 1, which truth function could we use to find theta? cosine. So we know cosine of theta equals 18 over 23. And then to find the actual angle, we're just using the inverse. In your calculator, you need to be in degrees. So make sure your calculator mode is in degrees. And here we're going to round to the nearest tenth for our measurements, for our angles, to get 38.5. And that's really all you're doing for this first section, taking the inverse of whatever it is to find the angle. Do we need to do another one? We can, if we need to. Or you can do the other side. I did these fast, so if they look wrong, they probably are, because I may have messed something up. Sharon, you had a question?
In Spanish.
Right. Do we agree with these? Disagree with these? Okay, so that is just finding one missing angle if we have a right triangle. Later, not this unit, in a later unit, we'll talk about solving triangles that aren't right triangles. For these, when we are actually solving, we're looking for all of the missing pieces. So that's the other side or sides, the other angle or angles. And for these, you have a lot of different options. So for number one, we have two angles. We need to remember that all angles add up to be 180 degrees. So you could find this missing angle by adding, taking 180, adding these two, subtracting it from it. To get what degree? And now that you have both of those angles, to find your sides, you have different options. So with the angle you're given, if we're looking for CB, we could take tangent. And because we already found 18, we could also have taken the tangent of 18. So you have different options for solving the first side, and then once you solve for the final side, you have even more options, because you could do Pythagorean theorem, you could do a cosine, you could do a sine. So you may not solve it the same way your partner does, someone sitting at your table or someone across the room. Everyone may solve these a different way. Depending on which one you use, I'm going to use this one because it'll be easier. I also wrote those backwards, but that's okay. I wrote CB instead of BC. Our sides we're going to round to the hundredths. What would BC be?
72.
Are you rounding 17?
Oh.
And then for AB, you could do quite a few things. You could take the sine of 18 or 15 over 80. Cosine of which angle?
72.
Cosine of 72 equals 15 over 80. You could take the opposites. You could take the sine of 72 or the cosine of 18. So you have different options. Some are more difficult than others.
Where did you get the 18 from?
It's
The degree.
180
I will say this, if you're using the more complicated ones, the ones where we found that measure of BC, and I keep writing CD, but that's okay. You need to use all of those decimals, not just the ones we rounded, because it's going to change the answer completely. So we will